But the February 29th hearing in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, will be a case that could shape the future of food freedom for all of us in America.
We're conducting a search warrant inside this building right now.
I got access to that search warrant.
I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Apparently, they're not even allowing Amos Miller, the owner of this establishment, into the building to see what they're doing.
Salsa's detained, granola detained, can't sell maple syrup, product under detention.
They've been in here for multiple hours at this point. We can only film through the glass. Again, searching Amos Miller's property.
Amos Miller, an Amish farmer in Bird in Hand, Pennsylvania, has been raided and sued by the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture. In this video, I am going to provide you with the details surrounding the January 2024 raid. A raid that comes just 1 year after the conclusion of the federal government's case against Miller Organic Farms. I covered the federal case in 2 separate videos, which I will link in the description below. But I want to encourage you to share this video. Tucker Carlson was the only mainstream voice for Amos Miller during the federal government's lawsuit against Miller in 2022. The state government's lawsuit against Miller has received little or no exposure in the mainstream media to date, despite the fact that the verdict on this case, whether negative or positive, will have wide-sweeping implications for thousands of small farmers and millions of consumers across the USA. As it stands in the USA, every meat and dairy product that is sold at a retail level must be inspected either by a USDA or state agent, or as in the case of dairy, must be processed in an establishment with license and or permit from the state or federal government. Private membership associations like Miller's are one of the last legal avenues that farmers have to privately sell their farm goods to consumers without government mediation. The key word being private, because those who have private membership associations or herd shares are not selling commercially or to the public. Even more so, they are the final avenue through which you, the consumer, can opt out of a dangerously centralized agricultural system. If the state or federal government can delegitimize what Amos Miller is doing, it sets a legal precedent and signals the beginning of the end for what remains of private food in the USA. If you are local to Pennsylvania, please consider being at the Lancaster County Courthouse in Pennsylvania on February 29th. A court rally is going to be held at 11:30 a.m., directly preceding Amos's hearing at 1 p.m. If you are like me and you are not local, please consider giving to Amos's Give, Send, Go campaign, which I will put as the pinned comment on this video. Robert Barnes is the lawyer representing Miller in this case and estimates that legal fees will reach $250,000 by the end of March. According to Barnes, the state of Pennsylvania is in pursuit of a complete and permanent injunction against Miller. Now, to get to the complete recap of the 2024 raid on Miller's Organic Farm. On January 3rd, a search warrant was ordered by Judge B. Denise Cummins. Now, in order to obtain a legitimate search warrant, either a crime or a probable cause must be present. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture presented 2 allegations of foodborne illness that were tied to Miller's operation. Now, according to Miller's attorney, Robert Barnes, there were 2 major problems. Number 1, the allegations were unverified and dated back to 2016 and 2023, which, if you remember, in 2023, Miller reached a settlement with the federal government, and these allegations would have fallen under the time frame of that particular case. According to Barnes, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture lied by omission, failing to cite these facts, as it would have disqualified the allegations from being used to justify a new search warrant in 2024. What's more is that Miller's Organic Farms has had no customer complaints filed with the state, which leaves one to wonder how the state actually materialized these complaints in the first place. Number 2. Were the allegations of foodborne illness legitimized, they ought to have been served through Amos Miller's legal representative, Robert Barnes, and not through a search warrant. But the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture wasted no time. 1 day after obtaining that search warrant, on January 4th, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture raided Amos Miller's Organic Farms, with Pennsylvania State Police assisting on site. The Department of Agriculture and State Police allowed no third party on the premise while they conducted the search, and as such, there was no accountability for what was done to or with the food products during the search. The Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture left Miller's farm with several of Miller's food products in coolers and affixed a sign to the front door, which prohibited the contents of the freezer units from being sold or sampled by Miller. This leaves Miller without the ability to perform independent testing, the testing that may be necessary to counter any allegations of contamination by the state. What's more is that according to Robert Barnes, detaining the food product was not a provision of the search warrant. Barnes infers that the warrant was a general warrant in direct violation of the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, which states, "The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized." According to Barnes, the warrant for the January 4th search was issued on the basis of investigating Miller's dairy product. However, the entire content of Miller's freezer was detained, products that include not only dairy but pasture-raised meat, canned goods, granola, etc. This is tens of thousands of dollars worth of perishable inventory, detained and prohibited from being distributed to the private members that were relying on it, and creating yet another significant financial loss for Miller himself. On January 19th, the state of Pennsylvania added an extension to the January 4th detention order. The January 4th detention order restricted food inventory that was on site during the January 4th search, but the extension on January 19th prohibited the distribution of any newly processed dairy products to Amos's private members. On January 24th, the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture sues Amish farmer Amos Miller. Attorney General Michelle A. Henry said in a statement, "We cannot ignore the illnesses and further potential harm posed by the distribution of these unregulated products. Pennsylvanians should know what is in the products they and their families are consuming." The irony of that statement is that a primary reason Miller's customers purchase his organic foods is because in doing so, they know exactly what is in the products they and their family are consuming. Share this video with as many people as possible, and I will do my best to update you with details on the case as it unfolds. As a disclaimer, I am not a legal professional. The facts relayed are from full interviews with attorney Robert Barnes and articles from the Lancaster Patriot. Video credits go to Max Kane, the Lancaster Patriot, and Viva Frey. For full articles and citation, please see the description of this video.